I'm Dominic Ragucci.
Okay.
I'm the 10th of 11 children. We were 9 boys and 2 girls. The first boy died as an infant. But after that, we had 8 boys, all of whom served in the service, including myself. 5 were in during the Second World War, and 2 were lost, my brother Emil at Tarawa and my brother Nick at Monte Cassino in Italy. The other 3 came home, but right after BJ Day, my brother Victor was drafted. He's the next one before me. And then I went in 53 to 55, and 2 weeks after I got out in 55, the baby went, the youngest brother went. So we all served, all 8 served in the military in some capacity. There was my brother Joe in the Second World War in the Merchant Marine, my brother Anthony in the Army, he was a medic in the South Pacific, my brother Dante in the Field Artillery, a forward observer, and he received the Silver Star in France. Then there was my brother Nick, who was killed at Monte Cassino, and my brother Emil, who was killed on Tarawa. Then Victor, myself, and Gus. We all went in the service. And that's the story of me and my brothers.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned that there was a telegram, and how old were you, and what do you remember about getting the telegram?
Well, I only remember opening the door for the telegram delivery. My sister took the telegram, and she read it to my mother. It was the government notifying my brother that my brother Emil was killed. November 20th, 1943. And this was on December 23rd, 1943, when the telegram arrived. And I have the original telegram. It's on the other side there. This is the original telegram that my parents received, notifying them that my brother Emil was killed. I do not have the telegram for my brother Nick. I don't know where it is or who has it or if it exists anymore. But I kept this. My dad kept it, and he gave it to me for safekeeping.
How were you notified that after you provided DNA, and when from the time you provided the DNA, how long did it take the government to contact you about finding the remains?
I provided the DNA approximately 6 years ago using a government DNA kit which I mailed back to the Marine Corps. I was notified November of 2017. I was notified November 2017 that they had a match for my DNA, and that was my brother Emil's remains. And then I notified the rest of the family that it looked like Emil was going to be returned. I was assured by the representative of the Marine Corps that he was going to be processed for return to home with Marine escort.
So who notified you from the Marine Corps? You had mentioned someone notified.
Hattie Johnson at Quantico, Virginia. I think that's where her office is. And I also communicated over time with a Mr. Williams at Quantico, Virginia, too. Basically, he took the calls when I made inquiries about the progress on finding and identifying my brother's remains.
Okay. I believe that History Flight was involved in the recovery of your brother's remains, and then you heard from someone from History Flight, Katie Rasdorf. So if you could mention what you know of the involvement of History Flight.
Well, I know History Flight was involved in recovering a lot of remains on Tarawa. They got in after JPAC. JPAC left the project, and a History Flight took over. I was dialoguing with Katie Rasdorf from History Flight, and she was helpful in making certain things happen in regards to my brother's return of my brother's remains.
Okay, and if you could just tell us when are the funeral funeral arrangements and the return home of
The return home will be August 13th, Monday, midday. I don't have the exact time or the airline, but they're going to fly him in from Honolulu or Hawaii, because that's where all the remains are that are being identified. And he's going to be received with appropriate escort, Philadelphia Police and the Marine Corps and airport police. He will be escorted to the funeral home in Flourtown, Pennsylvania. And the next day, the 14th, which is a Tuesday, at the funeral home in Flourtown, there will be a memorial service. Then he'll be escorted to the cemetery, or Holy Sepulchre Cemetery on Cheltenham Avenue in Cheltenham, Pennsylvania.
What does this mean to you after so many years of not knowing what happened? You knew what happened to your brother, but not knowing what happened to his remains. How is it giving you any comfort, any closure? How are you feeling about this?
Oh, certainly. I feel great that he'll be at the cemetery with my parents and my other two brothers who are buried there, and which is basically what my parents wanted. They wanted him home, and my mother was never really satisfied that his remains were not here. So I just wish she will see this happen.
Okay. And the flag that's going to be folded by the Marines that day, what is going to happen with that flag of our country?
I will present it to my brother Victor, because he's next in line after Emil. And just as I have presented Emil's medals, which I received from the Marine Corps, to Victor also. And I want him to have those medals and, of course, the flag.